Hey, in this episode, we had Michael Littler from Hitachi on, and great episode. He is the CMO for Hitachi Cooling and Heating. He's been in the industry for 3 years and had the technical background in that. But I mean, a man after our hearts, talking some marketing aspects. So, Evan, what was your favorite takeaway from that episode?
Just diving into how contractors can connect with consumers and be able to educate them on what it is that's new and exciting with all the products. I thought it was fantastic. What about you?
Just the technology that he started talking about and how they'll be able to bring that educational pieces into today's day and age, right? And especially the advancements and the innovations that they're making there and what they're trying to do with their heat pumps is just phenomenal stuff. So it was a great episode and thoroughly enjoyed it.
But we definitely want to hear from you too, so drop a link down below. Let us know what you liked and enjoy the show.
But we wouldn't be able to be possible to be at AHR and have great interviews like this one without our sponsors. CHIIRP, Elite Call, and On Purpose Media. So Elite Call, they are a U.S.-based call center champion for the home service industries for 20 years, actually. They've been outbounding clients' databases, filling dispatch boards with lucrative service and sales appointments and boosting memberships like no other. They don't make calls. They actually directly integrate into your CRM, giving you a seamless experience. Don't let your competition get ahead. Let Elite Call connect with your customers and fill your board. You can visit them today at elitecall.net right there.
And we've got CHIIRP. Transform your home service business with CHIIRP, the ultimate automation toolbox. Capture more leads. Connect instantly when skyrocket your sales. CHIIRP integrates seamlessly with platforms like ServiceTitan and House Call Pro, offering automated texts, emails, and even ringless voicemails. Boost your Google reviews and customer loyalty with our proven rehash programs. Schedule your demo today and get an exclusive 25% off your first 3 months. Visit chirp.com/HSR for HVAC Success Secrets Revealed and start boosting your revenue today.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan, live from the 2024 AHR Expo in lovely Chicago, the windy city, and fuck was it windy yesterday when we got off the plane. Cold, but all good. So today we have on Michael Littler from Hitachi Heating and Cooling, or Cooling and Heating rather. Interesting conversation when we're leading up to it. I'm going to be really excited to dive into some of the trends that you guys are seeing, as well as digitization and adoption within inside of the market and the space, specifically some of the things you're seeing, out of Europe too, and coming over into the U.S. market. Talking about some of the heat pumps, rules on refrigerant, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be a fun episode. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So just want to lean in a little bit more. There we go. Cool. Walk us through. So you've been in the industry for 3 years. You had IT as your background. Walk us through what it's like coming outside of the industry into something in the role that you have.
Yeah, so I'm in marketing, right? And I was in marketing in IT. And when I got here, I found, there's actually quite a lot of IT going on in HVAC, certainly in terms of the development that we've been doing. And it's just a question of how quickly that's going to get out into the market and get adoption. And in my position in marketing, we do quite a lot of customer research as well to make sure we understand both for the product team where we need to go, but also in terms of how to build that engagement with the customers. And your audience here, installers and contractors, super important to our business, obviously, and we really need to listen to what they need, but it's also about leading them a little bit, right? About saying, look, this is some of the technology and the things we can do that can make your job more easy or deliver more value for your customers. And in my position, because I work in a global position, and I'm based in Asia for most of my career, I can see a lot of different trends and adoption on particularly that tech part of HVAC.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's neat. I mean, we're talking before we got going, and some of the stuff that you're noticing from China and Singapore in bringing digitization in. But you talked about some research that you guys have done on adopting more of a technological aspect for businesses. and the owners, and how do you get owners and techs on board more? And you think about the average age of an installer and a tech out in the field, well, they're getting older, right? And sometimes they're tech adverse. So looking at that research, what did you guys find? What did you guys discover?
Yeah, so I think high level, there are installers who are much more tech savvy, right? And they have companies where they're doing more complex installs. It's more on the commercial side, right? And so they're doing integration with building management systems and things like that. But you've got, I would say, the majority of installers looking at small business and residential, they haven't had so much exposure to that technology. And so we asked them, what's holding you back from going bigger into that? And it's a mixture of 2 or 3 things. One, they don't feel that they have enough training on it, right? 2, they're maybe not even aware of some of the offerings from the manufacturers, right? And 3, a little bit of like, well, I'm not used to it. I'm not sure about it. It's unfamiliar, right? And as you implied, a lot of people, if something's shown to them clearly how to do it, great, I'll get on and do it. But if it's just that if there's a gap, if there's I need to learn something, I'm not quite clear who's going to show me this, then that's a problem for them. Yeah.
Do you feel like that's more on the contractor's responsibility to close that gap between a lack of awareness, or is that on the distributors to be able to step up and say, hey, this is what you need to know, this is why you need to know it?
Well, I think it's on the industry, right? And the industry is everyone in it.
Right.
So it's a mixture of manufacturers like us, I think, can step up, right? It's the distributors, and it's the contractors themselves. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that, everything that we talk about in terms of leadership and growing a team and leading individuals, they need to understand why it is that they need to do something before they are willing to jump on board and do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to a lack of awareness, at the end of the day, ignorance is not bliss when what you need to be aware of is going to impact how you're running your business and whether you're doing it legally or not. And we talk about the changes that are coming in refrigerant requirements. That's something that owners need to be up to date on and make sure that they're aware of moving into the new year.
Yeah, so what you're referring to there is a huge change, right?
Yeah.
Probably the biggest change in North America in the industry for some time, because everything in terms of single split, in terms of room AC, is going to need to change into, in most cases, R32 out from the current refrigerant. And the government here has recently announced and clarified the rules around that. At the end of this year, all manufacturers have to stop producing the product, and at the end of the following year, we have to stop selling it. So that means at some point within the next 24 months, there's going to be 100% change in the lineups of products that the contractors are working with. There will just have to be.
Right.
And that's a big opportunity for, I think, every manufacturer in the industry, particularly those who perhaps have lower market share, because it's an opportunity the contractors are going to be looking and saying, okay, so, what have you got in your portfolio? Do I want to stick with what I've got, or is this other portfolio more attractive? And that's why it's really important that manufacturers have a complete portfolio, right, for residential and light commercial segment, which is what we're really focused on. Mm-hmm. So at the show today, we've been very deliberate about this. Every product here is a new product. It was either just launched 2 months ago, or it's going to be shipping very soon. And we have VRF. We have a whole new room air conditioning single splits on R32. We have a brand new large single split that's designed for really small businesses and large homes. That's R32. We have an air to water heat pump monoblock, which is R32. And monoblock means the whole refrigerant is kept in the ODU, the outside unit. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have any issues of bringing refrigerant into the property and any of the complications around that. So it's a lot easier to install. And we also have even a hybrid heat pump product, which is a gas furnace combined with a electric heat pump based on VRF that will automatically switch between the two according to the loading, according to the weather condition, basically.
Which is necessary for us up in Canada.
I was about to say, for those in the cold climates, because you look at natural gas, when it's minus 40 Celsius, that's where Fahrenheit and Celsius are equal.
Yeah.
It's cold.
I'm glad you're talking in Celsius because I've been getting very confused at the show today between Fahrenheit and Celsius.
Well, hey, you know what? America is the only country in the world that goes on Fahrenheit. So, time to change, America.
So back to the point about the portfolio. I mean, we've got a pretty complete lineup, and I think that's important because everyone's going to be looking in the market. Who can I go with? I don't want to learn like 3 different manufacturers, right? Most contractors are typically working with probably 2 manufacturers, really,
Right.
for most of their jobs. So we're in a position where we think we're ready for that refrigerant change.
Just for clarity, the years were 2024. Just in case somebody's listening to this next year, it was 2024 and 2025. For this year, having to stop producing it, 2025 with the other one. One thing you mentioned is owners staying up to date, and you think that's an important part to be able to know those sorts of things. Put yourself in an owner's shoes, for example, and knowing your background in IT and what you have here from the Hitachi side. What are some of the things that owners can do, or some information that they can go to be able to maintain this up-to-date standards?
Well, I was thinking about what you said earlier, because obviously part of it, I think, depends on the contractors, the individual contractors working in the business, right, and somewhat their age, right? We've got new guys coming into the industry. They're going to be very comfortable with a lot of this sort of smart home technology anyway. And this is like the first wave of technology that's coming into HVAC, is how do you integrate your air conditioning into your smart home controls, right? And it's actually super easy, at least for our products, it's super easy to set it up so that a homeowner can control it with a smart home speaker, for example, right? It's not complicated. So it's really just investing a bit of time reading the information from the manufacturers. You can find it on our website. And asking the questions either to Hitachi directly. We have training centers in the US where we can go through all this, or to the distributors who should be explaining the availability of this as well.
Right.
Yeah. But we've also been focused on how can we use technology to speed up commissioning and servicing, right? Which I think is more relevant in commercial applications. So for example, if you're doing installation, let's say at a school, right, or even a small hotel or something, places where you've got multiple rooms, in terms of commissioning today, you have to go in and every controller in every room go and set up parameters, run test cycle, lock it down in many cases, right? So people can't play with it after and cause issues. And you have to do that one by one. But we've got an app, it's called aircloud tap. You type in the settings you want into the application, and then it uses NFC. NFC is what we have on our smartphones, most of us, right? Where you just make a payment or
the contactless.
Contactless. And you just tap it. You put the phone near each controller. So if you want to apply the same settings to 20 controllers, you can just walk into each room and do that, So you can save a lot of time with that.
Right.
And in the same way, you can actually download the data out of an outdoor unit, our VRF units, download diagnostic data and servicing history data out of the outdoor unit using that same application. So it's not just about for the homeowner or the small business owner having an app to control the air conditioning. It's also about how can you make your job as an installer more easy.
Well, it's efficiency, right?
Yeah.
You look at, heck, Billy Stevens, he talks about that quite a bit, in getting more efficient as an organization. And if you can do this, now they could be potentially spending less time at a house, and one could argue, okay, you might want to spend more time, but in terms of the actual work itself, now you can spend less time and be more efficient doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's the big one. And really quickly, heat pumps, rebates, electrification, kind of a big subject for some it's not. Actually, on the plane ride down here, I sat beside somebody who used to work in the electrical grid and did, I think he actually did lobbying and traveled around with different places. It was kind of neat. It was a good conversation, but I asked him his opinion, on electrification and how we're moving away in some places from natural gas to more of an electricity based. What are your thoughts on, I mean, specifically in North America, but what are the trends that you've been seeing coming out of Europe, Asia, that we can use and bring into the North American market from an electrification standpoint?
Yeah. So I think everyone knows that electrification is an end goal, right? In terms of, if you look at the issue from the top down, so in terms of commitments governments are making in terms of reducing greenhouse gases and global warming, we know that we have to move out of fossil fuels and into electrification. There's no arguing about that. Of course, there's a lot of, let's say, gap there in terms of how fast we move and how you make that move happen, right? But it comes down to, in my view, a very simple thing, which is, do we make electrification affordable and understandable for homeowners, right? If the industry, with government support, and government support is crucial, if the industry can do that, then the demand will be there and it will open up, and our contracting friends and installation companies will be able to go out and get that business, right? But from what we've seen in Europe, we can see that there's a very strong correlation between demand for electrification, air-to-water heat pumps, and the availability of government rebates to make those products more affordable.
Right.
We also see a correlation between the price of gas at any given moment and the willingness for someone, a homeowner, to decide to make that investment. Right. And so we've seen a lot of up and down in demand in Europe over the last few years. In Asia, it's a little bit different story. Really, China is the market there where this is really taking off. At the moment in China, I would say the main opportunity in residential is more around the countryside, actually. More remote properties, where it just makes more sense because they're not on like a gas main grid or something like that.
Right.
But I think we are going to see even the larger cities move into electrification and heating. But that will take some time, right?
Right.
So I think if you take a 10 or 20 year view, we're definitely going to see a lot more. But how big is the opportunity in the short term will depend on, here in North America, I think will depend very much on the availability of that government support. Final point on that, we did some research around this as well with both installers and with homeowners, and I think installers are saying basically, and this research was in Europe, but I think the same would apply here. A lot of their customers, they don't understand the technology.
Right.
And it can be quite difficult for an installer to explain the technology to a homeowner. Interesting fact, maybe surprising to people in the industry. Most homeowners, they think that a heat pump or an air conditioner is actually bringing outdoor air into their house because of the large fans on the ODU. So there is, I don't want to use the word ignorance, but I just used it. But there is, let's say, a lack of detailed knowledge about HVAC, right, with the average homeowner. And so particularly a product like air-to-water, it's like, what is this magical box? It's supposed to what? How does it generate heat when it's cold outdoors? I don't get that, right? So I think contractors have got to, more on the sales side I'm talking here, right?
Yes.
Installation companies going in, trying to close sales for air-to-water heat pumps. They've got to explain the technology in simple terms. And that's another, I think, key part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of them are also managing the rebate application process as well for their customers. So probably I would say 70-80% of the time the contractor is involved to some degree in that rebate process, whether it's just providing documentation for the homeowner to get the rebate, or it's actually just managing the whole thing turnkey for them.
Yeah, well, sometimes the contracting company, they'll take the rebate, so they charge the customer and then they get the rebate, themselves, right? Or they charge the customer what it is and it comes back to them, so they're putting it onto the customer. In looking at explaining the technology to a homeowner, breaking it down into the simple, and it goes back to the previous part of the conversation, a lot of times, I mean, you're more on the sales side, but you get some individuals who might not understand the technology themselves. What would you say to them to be able to break it down in a way that they can understand so they can actually then say that to the homeowner?
Well, you mean how would I explain heat pump technology to a average homeowner?
Sure, let's go that way.
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, it's simple, right? Because if you're in the industry, it's quite an easy technology for you to understand. So it's a question of using the words that they may understand and not using a lot of jargon, right? But, personally, this is my personal way I would do it. I would explain it if they're familiar. Say they're in a warmer part of the States. We're using air conditioning a lot, right? So in the southern states, you might just say, look, it's like an air conditioner, but it sort of works in reverse, right? In terms of the refrigerant cycle. We don't need to explain that, but it's working in reverse. So it's using refrigerant to generate heat, right? You could explain it that way. In terms of like someone who's not even familiar with air conditioning, it's a little more challenging, right? But I think the important point is it's using electricity to generate the heating in a way that's much more efficient than your old style of sort of direct. I'm not sure what language you use in the States or Canada, but like in Europe they would say immersion heater, right? Where you have the electric sort of water boiler, right? It's a lot more efficient than that because it's using a more advanced technology, with refrigerant gas.
Just breaking it down, I think that's the key point here, is just taking it and breaking it down into more simplistic terms so that somebody can understand in layman's, right? And look, we're guilty of it too. I mean, with our marketing company, we'll sometimes get on a call and we'll go into a deep thing about SEO and websites and Google Ads, and people are like...
CAC and...
Right, CPC and CTR and all this shit, and they're like...
We're very good at that in marketing.
What, right? Like, just break it down. So take what you think is normal and take somebody, if you're trying to learn this on your own, we'll go have a conversation with your neighbor who might not be in the same trade as you and break it down and see if they understand it. Right? And then once they can understand it, now you're onto the right way to be able to explain it.
That's a very good point, yes.
Well, and this is where videos come in and images come in. Like more people are visual learners than they are auditory. So you simply explaining it to them is one thing, but being able to encompass different aspects, different ways that people learn so you can properly communicate to them on social media, on blogs, and then of course in the sales cycle as well, all of it's important.
Exactly that. I mean, if you're an installer, you go make some videos, very lo-fi, it doesn't matter. People will be searching, homeowners will be searching for information on air to water if they're really thinking about taking that step. So they'll find you, hey, this guy's local, he knows it, I'm going to contact him, right? So you can generate a lot of business from that.
Right. Yeah. Well, here's a marketing hack for people that just heard that, is create the content yourself for your local market with your techs. Because guess what? If they're doing the research, people are educated these days. So get your techs to start creating that content under your brand name, and that's how you can get in front of it. Yeah.
And they're probably like doing research at sort of two levels, right? On the one hand, they might be trying to understand air to water overall. But then as they get closer to sort of making a decision on this, they probably start searching things like, heat pump, Arkansas, right? Whatever, like some, or a more specific location. Because they're looking for someone who can advise them in that local area.
Well, and that's a really common search term is how does a heat pump work?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep, we see that.
And then how does a heat pump work in my market and my climate, right? That's another really big one. Especially up in Canada, like can it work in Alberta? Can it work in Ontario?
Yeah. In fact, some of the top concerns that homeowners have, even installers actually, that I've seen in our research are, does this product really work reliably in, let me say, more extreme outdoor temperatures, right? And the second thing is, and maybe this is less of an issue in North America, it's more of a European thing, but is the outdoor unit sort of big, bulky and ugly and, it's not going to look good out the front of my house? And the third thing is it noisy? Right. These are sort of the three, I would say, big concerns that we see in our research. So I think as an installer, as a manufacturer on my side, we've got to collectively be able to answer those concerns. So on the first one, in terms of temperature operation, I mean, our products, which our air-to-water heat pumps, which are developed in Europe, by the way, at our plant in Barcelona, we're the only manufacturer actually developing, manufacturing a whole range of products in Western Europe. Those products will work down to minus 25 C, which is minus 13F, I think, if I remembered that correctly.
Pretty close, yeah.
I was Googling that just earlier. Now, of course, they won't work at absolute efficiency the whole time with the hot water temperature at maximum. And, I don't want to get into all the numbers here now, but, there are graduations towards that. So at a slightly higher ambient temperature, you'll get the full hot water power. But the point is, it's going to keep working in most climates. But parts of Canada, yeah, maybe not. And that's where we have another product here today, which is a hybrid heat pump.
Yep.
So it's a gas furnace, and it's actually not an air to water. It's a air to air heat pump, right? And they have auto switch over between them. That's to do space heating.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and what we just had happen a week and a half ago, it was minus 40, minus 32 was the high Celsius.
Oh, wow.
Was the high that day, and so a minus 25 heat pump just simply wouldn't work in Canada. But when you have that switch to be able to do it automatically, now it will.
Exactly, and that's why we have both of these products, right?
Yep.
So we've got the hybrid for the really extreme climates, and we've got the regular air-to-water heat pump for the more regular climates. But still, you as long as you're not regularly going below, say, minus 20 C, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and for most of Canada and the U.S., that your average isn't minus 20 all the time. It gets cold for a little bit, and then it gets back to that minus 10, unless you're way up north, and then that's a completely different circle. So, fascinating conversation. I really enjoyed it, Michael. Thank you for taking the time out of the HR to sit down and chat with us on some of the things that Hitachi is working on. If somebody wanted to reach out and get more information, either from you directly or from Hitachi, where would they go?
Well, if you're watching online, of course, I mean, the easiest thing is just type in Hitachi Aircon, AIRCON.com. That's our website. Or just stick Hitachi AC or something in Google, and you'll get that. And on that website, you'll see, all of our products that we have, and you can find articles and other information and advice, about some of the issues even that we discussed today.
Perfect, love that. And it wouldn't be an episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed unless we asked you our last final question.
What is one question that you wish people would ask you more, but they don't?
About HVAC?
About anything.
Anything, life, HVAC, doesn't
Marketing.
matter. Kids, family, who knows?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Well, I would say I'm a marketing guy at heart, right? So I love people to ask me questions about sort of communication, strategy, how to be effective in communicating. And I think that's something that, our friends who are running installation, contracting businesses, we just discussed it, also need to know, And I always say to people, simplicity, that's the key. So if you can simplify something and tell an easy story that people can remember, doesn't matter what the industry is, I think that's always a good thing.
Well, people learn through storytelling, right?
Yeah.
If you can get your point across in telling a story, now you've captivated the individual, and they're going to want to listen.
Yeah.
And that's the best part about it.
Yeah. By the way, you'll notice here today, all of our products have the same naming. So we're using air as our key kind of branding. So we have every product range is air. So we have air home for home air conditioning. We have air 365 for our commercial VRF systems. We have air H2O for those air-to-water heat pumps. So, we're trying to simplify as well. I think the industry as a whole, we need to modernize. We need to bring in the IT, the technology tools into HVAC, and we need to modernize how we communicate. As we go more and more into electrification, we've all got to do a better job to educate the market and the end customers about the technology, what it is, what are their concerns, whether it's the heat, the size of it, does it work in cold weather. We've got to communicate this stuff better.
It makes sense.
I'm going to give you a technical marketing question here. We'll see how you do.
All right.
So I'm running a local home service business.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to promote these heat pumps. What combination of education, promotion, etc., would you suggest that I be putting out to the market? How often? How regular? How much do I need to be in front of them to help separate me from my competitors?
Well, that's a very detailed question. So
You said you're marketing at heart, so
I am. Well, look, I think we already touched on it earlier. I would say a key part is obviously be local. Right?
Yes.
I think, as a small or smallish business installation company, you're working within a certain geographical area, right? And we know, again, through research, I love quoting research, we know that most installation companies, they're trying to grow their business not geographically so
Right.
much, but they're more about, I'm going to get into different areas of HVAC, right?
Right.
So I'm in air conditioning today, I want to get into heat pumps, right? Or I'm coming actually from a plumbing, heating background, and I'm going
Right.
to move more into the aircon HVAC technology. So I think you got to build a presence that's local and build yourself up as a trusted person in your community. And you want to be creating different types of content to do that. So little explainers. How does a heat pump work, right? Maybe some kind of testimonial stuff in just a subtle way. Here's a project I did, right? I've seen, we've been looking at a lot of stuff online. What are installers doing today themselves already?
Mm-hmm.
And you have guys in some places where they put like a GoPro on their head, and they will walk through an installation that they're doing. Now, I think that's more targeted at other installers and sort of, sharing the love, sharing the knowledge with other installers. But it's kind of interesting. Can you come up with angles like that can be more geared towards the homeowner, right, that you want to reach? Frequency. I mean, you want to be frequent, but you got to go out and run your business as well, right? So, one piece a week would be nice. I think the key is you got to find something that you can do it in a way that's authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And if something's authentic, A, it works better, and B, it's easier for you to do it.
Correct.
Because you're not trying to rehearse a script. Oh, I got it wrong. Let me go again. If it comes naturally to you, it'll be easy.
Right.
Whatever it is, right? So I would be thinking along those lines.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and the GoPros, to walk us through what it is that we did on an install, on a repair, et cetera, what it is that we found, all of that information is incredibly impactful in the market because it's instructive. But people also love those ASMR type videos where you're getting the different visual aspects, auditory aspects of an install or of a repair. People love that stuff. They binge watch it. I don't know why. There's something about human behavior that gets connected to it, and so they like to watch it. So I think all of that content is fantastic. And I think the thing that a lot of contractors get stuck on is it needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
And done is better than perfect.
Yep.
10 out of 10 days of the week, right? It really doesn't matter how perfect it looks at the end of the day. And this is why we don't edit the show very much.
Yeah.
Right? We've got to stitch some things together because we can only record 20 minutes at a time on the video here.
Yeah.
But outside of that, there's not a lot of editing that we put into this because, like you said, the authenticity matters more than the perfection.
Yeah, exactly. Authentic isn't perfect. So
Yes.
and everyone can see something that's highly edited and it's marketing.
Yeah.
There's
just trying to sell me.
Marketing in the modern world, right? We're all bombarded with so much marketing all the time, right? So you have to do marketing that's not actually.
A few moments later.
All right, so those that are coming back to this, we lost our regular audio, so we switched and we pivoted here really quickly. It sucks because we're getting into a really fascinating spot with marketing, but I think it comes really full circle to the entirety of the conversation that we were having today of just being able to educate. And when you can educate from a place of authenticity, it really has a lot of power in there. So.
No, it's a fantastic episode, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time. Enjoy the rest of the show, and enjoy Chicago.
Thank you. I enjoyed the conversation. It's great to have a lot of technical conversations in these shows. It's also great to have this kind of conversation.
Right.
So,
well, I appreciate that. Appreciate you taking the time. And until next time, cheers. Well, that's a wrap on another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, two quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny bit of information out of this show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to introduce this to one person in your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.